Nervous about speaking English when you travel. Many learners struggle at the airport during flights and when checking into hotels because they can't find the right words quickly. This video takes you through an entire travel experience, from check in to hotel check in, with 100 essential phrases you can use instantly. You'll hear them in a realistic story, so you'll understand the context and feel confident using them on your next trip. By the end, you'll be ready to travel and speak English naturally without hesitation. Part 1. At the airport check in. It's early morning at the airport, and the terminal is filled with the soft hum of travelers pulling rolling suitcases, the smell of freshly brewed coffee drifting from a nearby cafe, and the faint echo of flight announcements over the speakers. You make your way toward the brightly lit check in area, weaving past other passengers, and step up to the counter where an airline staff member is arranging some papers. With a friendly expression, you greet her, "Good morning." She looks up from her work, returning your smile, and asks warmly, "How can I help you?" You adjust the strap of your bag and reply clearly, "I have a flight to New York." Her fingers hover over the keyboard as she asks politely, "Can I see your passport, please?" You open your bag, retrieve your passport, and hand it over with a polite tone, "Here you go." She scans the passport, her eyes moving between the screen and the document before asking, "Where is your ticket?" You reach into your bag once again, pull out the folded paper, and say, "Here it is." She nods, begins typing swiftly on her computer, and after a few seconds, looks back at you to ask, "Do you have any bags to check in?" You turn slightly and point toward the suitcase beside you, saying, "Yes, just one." She gestures toward the scale in front of the counter and says, "Please place it on the scale." You lift the suitcase, setting it down with a soft thud, and watch as she measures the weight. Then she glances up again and asks, "Do you have any carry-on luggage?" You nod, holding your backpack closer to your shoulder, the soft weight of it reminding you of everything you've packed for the journey ahead. Part 2, Security Check. You follow the overhead signs leading towards security, the path narrowing as more passengers join the line. The soft rumble of luggage wheels and the occasional sound of zippers being opened fills the air. As you reach the front, a security officer in uniform looks at you and says clearly, "Please remove your shoes." You step to the side, bending down to unlace them and place them neatly into one of the gray plastic trays. "Take out your laptop," he adds, his voice steady but routine, so you unzip your backpack, carefully sliding the laptop out, and place it in a separate tray. He watches for a moment before continuing, "Put your phone in the tray." You nod, slipping it from your pocket and placing it alongside the laptop. Just then, another officer walks over and says firmly, "Empty your pockets." You pat your jeans and coat, pulling out loose change and a small set of keys. As you set them down, the first officer asks, "Do you have any liquids?" Without hesitation, you reply, "Yes, in this bag," holding up a clear plastic pouch with small bottles inside. He gives a quick nod and gestures toward the metal detector, saying, "Please step through the scanner." Ahead, a guard controlling the flow of people calls out over the noise, "One at a time, please," as the line moves steadily forward. You take a breath, step through the scanner, and wait for the beep, but it never comes. A nearby officer looks at you and says with a small smile, "You are clear to go." Relieved, you pick up your belongings, slip your shoes back on, and say warmly, "Thank you." Part 3, Passport Control. After collecting your things from security, you follow the flow of passengers toward passport control. The space is quieter here, the only sounds being the soft shuffle of footsteps and the low voices of travelers answering questions. You step into one of the short lines, your passport in hand, and wait as the people ahead of you are processed. When it's your turn, the officer behind the glass window lifts his head and waves you forward. His uniform is crisp, and his expression is calm but professional. "May I see your passport?" he asks. You slide it under the glass and watch as he opens it to check your details. His eyes stay on the page as he asks in a steady, formal tone, "What is the purpose of your visit?" You answer clearly, "I'm here for vacation." He nods slightly, typing something into his computer before continuing, "How long will you stay?" You rest your hands on the counter and reply, "I'll stay for 2 weeks." The officer keeps typing, the sound of the keyboard filling the brief silence, then looks up again. "Where will you be staying?" he asks. Without hesitation, you respond, "At the Grand Hotel." He leans back slightly, his eyes meeting yours, and asks one final question, "Do you have a return ticket?" You answer with confidence, "Yes, I do." He gives a small nod, reaches for the stamp, and presses it firmly onto one of the passport pages. Handing it back with a smile, he says warmly, "Enjoy your trip." You thank him, slip the passport into your bag, and step forward into the arrivals hall, feeling the excitement of the journey ahead. Part 4. Boarding the plane. You follow the signs through the terminal until you reach the departure gates. The polished floor reflects the bright overhead lights, and the sound of rolling suitcases echoes in the high-ceilinged hall. You slow your pace as you approach the gate area, glancing up at the large screen above to check your flight information. A staff member in a neat uniform steps toward you and asks politely, "What's your seat number?" You answer clearly, "It's 14A." She nods and says with a professional smile, "Boarding will start soon. Please have your boarding pass ready." You take it from your bag, holding it in your hand as you move closer to the seating area. Another staff member passes by, giving you a friendly smile and saying, "Enjoy your flight." You return the smile and thank them before turning to a man walking nearby. "Where is gate number 5?" you ask. He points down the hall and says, "It's this way." You follow his direction, weaving through other travelers until you see the large Gate 5 sign ahead. As you arrive, a calm voice over the speakers says, "Please wait in the boarding area." You take a seat, feeling the low hum of anticipation in the air. A few minutes later, the announcement changes, this time a little louder and more cheerful. "We are now boarding passengers." You gather your belongings, join the short line, and walk down the jet bridge, the faint smell of fuel and the sound of the engines humming in the background. At the aircraft door, a flight attendant greets you warmly and says, "Please fasten your seatbelt." You nod, stepping into the cabin, ready to settle into your seat for the journey ahead. Part 5. On the plane. You step into the narrow aisle of the airplane, the low hum of the engines already steady in the background. The overhead bins click open and shut as passengers stow their bags. After a few steps, you spot your seat and glance at the person sitting by the window. With a polite smile, you ask, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" They look up and shake their head, replying, "No, it's free." You lift your carry-on slightly and ask, "Can I put my bag here?" Gesturing toward the empty space in the overhead bin, they give a friendly nod and say, "Sure." You slide your bag into place, take your seat, and fasten your seatbelt. A flight attendant walking down the aisle pauses near your row and reminds everyone, "Please keep your seatbelt fastened." You adjust yours comfortably, feeling the slight pull of the strap across your lap. Sometime later, the same flight attendant returns with a service cart, the soft clinking of bottles and cups filling the air. She smiles and asks, "Would you like something to drink?" You answer, "Yes, water please." As she pours it, you remember something and add, "Can I have a blanket?" She nods without hesitation and hands you one. the fabric neatly folded. Curious about the journey ahead, you ask, "How long is the flight?" She answers with a calm smile, "About 8 hours." You settle back into your seat, sipping the cool water and pulling the blanket over your lap. After a while, the overhead speakers crackle and the captain's voice comes through, steady and reassuring. "We will land soon." Passengers begin gathering their things, the quiet excitement of arrival starting to fill the cabin. Part 6: Arrival and Immigration. The plane touches down smoothly on the runway, the sound of the wheels meeting the ground followed by a soft deceleration. Through the small oval window, you see the gray morning light of London and the rows of airport buildings in the distance. As the cabin doors open, a cool breeze from outside replaces the recycled air of the flight. You follow the line of passengers into the terminal, the scent of fresh coffee, and the low hum of announcements welcoming travelers. At the entrance to the arrivals area, an airport officer greets you with a polite smile and says, "Welcome to London." He hands you a clipboard with some papers and adds, "Please fill out this form." You take it, tucking it under your arm as you continue toward the immigration counters. When it's your turn at the desk, the officer, wearing a dark uniform, looks up from his computer and asks in a steady voice, "Where are you coming from?" You reply clearly, "I'm coming from Istanbul." He types a few notes into his system before asking, "How long will you be here?" You answer, "For 5 days." He flips through your passport and looks at the form you filled in. Without looking up, he asks, "What is the address of your hotel?" You say, "It's 45 Queen Street." He gives a brief nod, scans the page once more, and then glances at you again. "Do you have travel insurance, AR?" he asks. You respond with confidence, "Yes, I do." Satisfied, he sets your papers aside and waves you forward toward the baggage claim area, the sound of suitcase wheels already echoing in the distance. Part 7: Baggage Claim. You step out of the immigration area and follow the overhead signs pointing toward baggage claim. The floor beneath your feet changes from carpet to polished tile, and the hum of suitcase wheels echoes around you. Scanning the space, you spot an airport employee arranging some carts and approach her. "Where is the baggage claim area?" you ask politely. She smiles and gestures toward the escalator. "It's downstairs," she replies. You ride down with a small group of passengers, the murmur of conversations in different languages filling the air. At the bottom, you see several large carousels slowly rotating, each with a digital screen showing flight numbers. Approaching another passenger, you ask, "Which carousel is for flight BA234?" He checks the nearby screen and answers, "Carousel number 6." You walk over and find a spot near the conveyor belt, watching bags appear one by one. Time passes, the crowd around the carousel grows smaller, but your bag still doesn't appear. A hint of worry creeps in, and you decide to head to the lost luggage desk. At the counter, you speak to the clerk. "My bag is missing." She looks up from her computer and asks, "Can you describe your bag?" You reply, "It's a black suitcase." She types quickly, scanning her screen for any updates. After a short pause, she nods and says, "Please wait here." You stand to the side, watching as she disappears into a back room. Moments later, she reappears, rolling your suitcase toward you. "Here's your bag." Relief washes over you as you take the handle and say sincerely, "Thank you very much." With your bag finally in hand, you head toward the exit, ready to begin the next part of your trip. Part 8: Customs. With your suitcase rolling quietly behind you, you follow the signs toward customs. The area is quieter than the rest of the terminal. the bright lights reflecting off the polished floor. At the counter, a uniformed officer looks up as you approach and asks in a clear, steady voice, "Do you have anything to declare?" You shake your head and reply, "No, I don't." He gestures toward your suitcase and says, "Please open your bag." You kneel down, unzip it, and say calmly, "These are just clothes." The officer glances inside briefly, checking the neatly folded shirts and other items, then nods in satisfaction. "You may go," he says. You stand, zipping your suitcase closed again, and point toward a wide doorway with glass panels. "Is this the exit?" you ask. He gives a small smile and answers, "Yes, it is." "Welcome again." As you start to walk away, he adds warmly, "Have a nice day." You smile back, feeling a sense of relief and excitement as you step toward the city beyond the airport and say, "Thank you." The doors slide open, and the cool outside air greets you, marking the true start of your trip. Part 9: Airport Transport. You step out of the sliding glass doors, the cool air of London mixing with the faint smell of exhaust from the waiting vehicles. People are moving in different directions, some rushing toward buses, others wheeling their suitcases toward private cars. Spotting an airport attendant in a reflective vest, you approach and ask, "Where can I find a taxi?" He points toward a row of vehicles lined neatly along the curb and says, "The taxi stand is outside." You follow his direction, pulling your suitcase along until you reach the line of black cabs. Approaching one, you lean toward the driver's window and ask, "How much to the city center?" The driver gives a quick estimate, replying, "About £30." You pull the hotel confirmation from your pocket and show him the printed address. "Can you take me to this hotel?" you ask. He glances at it briefly and nods. "Yes, get in." You slide into the back seat, the soft leather cool against your hands. As the taxi merges onto the main road, you look out at the mix of old buildings and modern glass structures. Curious, you ask, "How long will it take?" The driver checks his mirror and replies, "About 30 minutes." The city skyline gradually comes into view, and soon the taxi slows as it turns onto a quieter street. You lean forward slightly and say, "Please stop here." The driver pulls over in front of the hotel entrance. You take your wallet, count the notes, and hand them over with a polite smile, saying, "Here is the fare." Part 10: Hotel Check-in. You step into the hotel lobby, the air cool and lightly scented with fresh flowers from a vase near the entrance. The polished marble floor reflects the soft glow of the ceiling lights, and the quiet hum of background music creates a calm atmosphere after your long journey. Pulling your suitcase behind you, you approach the reception desk with a polite smile and say, "Good afternoon." The receptionist, dressed neatly in the hotel's uniform, returns the smile and listens as you continue, "I have a reservation." She taps a few keys on her computer and asks, "What's your name?" You reply clearly, "My name is Anna Smith." She nods and says, "May I see your passport?" You open your bag, retrieve the passport, and place it on the counter, saying, "Here it is." She flips it open, checks your details, and then slides a piece of paper toward you, saying, "Please sign here." Once you sign, she types a few more details into the computer, then smiles and says, "Your room number is 305." She reaches for a small plastic card and hands it to you, saying, "Here is your key card." You take it with a grateful smile, already picturing the comfort of the room waiting upstairs. As she hands back your passport, she adds warmly, "Enjoy your stay." You reply, "Thank you," feeling a wave of relief that your journey has gone smoothly and ready to finally start your trip. And that's your complete travel experience in English, from arriving at the airport to settling into your hotel room. You didn't just memorize 100 travel phrases, you lived them through real moments. The more you listen and repeat, the more natural these words will feel when you actually travel. Keep practicing, keep imagining yourself in these situations, and you'll be ready to handle any trip with confidence. I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more real life English conversations.